Leadership is cause, everything else is effect. These are not just words of our guest today. They are a philosophy he has lived, his thought, and proven across decades of service to Ghana. But who is this man behind these powerful words? Today on Impact Stories, we begin not with where he was born, but with what he believes, and from there, we trace the journey from ideas to impact. His story begins right after this break. Welcome back from the break. Our guest today is Professor Emeritus Stephen Adei, an economist, educator, reformer, public servant, and a voice of integrity in Ghana's national conversation. His journey spans humble beginnings in rural Ashanti to leadership roles in academia, government, and beyond. And it all starts with his signature belief that leadership is cause and everything else is effect. Thank you so much for talking to us today, Professor Emeritus Stephen Adei.
You are most welcome.
Thank you very much. And I must say that it came to me as a surprise to find out that you are the oldest chartered marketer in the country.
Well, if you live long, we become old. Yes, I'm getting to 77. I chartered as a marketer in the UK in 1973. And I've been not directly practicing marketing, but used the tools all my life. When I returned to Ghana after some years of diaspora with the UN and the Commonwealth, they found me and I became twice the president of the Chartered Institute of Marketing Ghana. After 2 sessions, you give up for others to come in, supported them all throughout these years. And I was surprised when they invited me to become patron about maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And it's a pleasure to support them in that position.
I have a lot of things that I would like to know from you. So let's start off with your personal philosophy or your favorite quote, if I must say. Did you get that quote from your experience in the classroom or your early life? Where did it come from?
Quite interesting. I always say that sometimes when you are standing beside the president, and instead somebody decides to shoot the president and the bullets hit you, you become a hero.
You become a hero.
When I stated in my books, leadership is cause, everything else is effect, I never knew that it was going to be a global slogan and statement. But so be it. But it comes from my belief that at every level, whether you are talking about the family level, institutional level, at the national level, always a leader makes the difference for better, for worse. And I've seen it in many families' lives. For example, in America, when I was with the UN, you talk about the Bush, twice president, you talk about the Lincolns, the Kennedys. It was family leadership that bred those type of. In Ghana, some of you may be younger, but you have the Johnsons, the Graf Johnsons from the Cape Coast. We have the Fouriates who have dominated Ghanaian politics for many years. It's family leadership. The ancestor or a matriarch comes out and then impacts. The same of organizations. When you see a real major founding of a lasting organization or a turnaround, at the bottom of it is someone who provided effective catalytic leadership. And at the national level, Champion or so, China, turned a communist country to become a capitalist powerhouse. When you go to America, they have their heroes of the Lincolns and the rest who are there. Even in Ghana, we have our Nkrumahs. And so almost always, the only thing is that when I say leadership is cause, everything is effect. It is not always positive. Sometimes there have been very dysfunctional leaders, like globally, you have Hitler, Pol Pot and the rest, who caused so much havoc, and by their action, millions of lives are, destroyed. I personally believe that the cause of our predicament, or if you think otherwise, the undulating economic and fortunes of Ghana, is a leadership issue. So I believe, it's something I believe, I've seen it, and it's the reason why I've dedicated a good proportion of my life training leaders at the family, organizational, and national levels.
Thank you very much. Prof, I'm interested, which of our leaders in Ghana can we attribute some of our economic hardships to? Because globally, you mentioned Hitler. In Ghana, who are the leaders we are looking at?
Why don't you start from the positive side? You are a typical Ghanaian who starts on the negative.
Unfortunately, I am a typical Ghanaian because I think for the positives, we do see some, but hardly do we hear people put names to the negatives.
Yes. So let me put name to the positive periods, and then so that I don't become typical like you, because I'm an optimist and I have believed in Ghana's future.
I feel attacked.
I think the first is Nkrumah 1. And you understand why I say Nkrumah 1. It's Nkrumah before we became a republic. He was excellent top leader. Something went wrong after we became a republic, and therefore our most excellent leader from about 1962 became very dysfunctional. Apart from him, I think that Kufuor did very well. His decision to go HIPC if the highly indebted poor countries, and you could see in his 8 years a systematic, not a revolutionary improvement, but the systematic improvement in Ghana's all the economic indicators. We saw a little bit in the early years of Atta Mills. Of course, he died in 3 years, but it's very difficult to judge Atta Mills because it could be the spillover from Kufuor. And I think that the first few years of Akufo-Addo was quite positive. I say the first few years, especially the 3 years before the COVID, and then things went bonkers. So now come to the dysfunctionalities. I think that up to 1983, the most dysfunctional leader was Kutu Echampong. He came in with the help of Colonel Banasco, which was his minister for agriculture, excellent, intelligent soldier. And he did so much. Operation Feed Yourself, if you hear about it, all was done under his leadership. They were able to do a few, but soon, almost all the kalabule you hear about, even alleged high level of sexual immorality. In fact, small golf cars were called Fatubeji Golf. So the seed of much of I think that he was one of the dysfunctional in terms of managing the economy. But when I was teaching leadership, and I used, fortunately, in GIMPA about my masters, were people who were either experienced or sometimes more experienced than me, sitting under my feet, including even His Excellency John Ejekum Kufuor. So the only thing is that being the one who is facilitating the seminars, the workshops and other things, I could characterize them to teach me. So oftentimes I was learning from them more than, but of course, being the professor, I'm able to help them to gather things together. And one of my master's class were asked to rank the worst leaders. And before, of course, Akufo-Addo's days, they brought out that Liman was the worst leader. And I said, but Liman was a gentleman. He never put people in prison or anything else. And he says, no, he wasn't a good leader because he couldn't take leadership decisions. And if a leader does not, in fact, that is what led Rawlings to come the first time and the second time. First time because of the soldiers, but the second time because the man was totally ineffective as a leader, taking decisions. In fact, someone told me, allegedly, that then, and this is a very top information that somebody shared, and I can't confirm it because neither of them did I meet. There was one Colonel Marble who was in charge of the military intelligence. And he told the president that Rawlings is moving troops. We have to stop him. Allegedly, in a joking way, he said, no. He cannot do anything. And the end is that, he did something. So, but when they said it, I said, probably they are right. It was about, 30 mature students, including Babin and Joe Weiss and the rest. And from Professor Bedu Akusa, they were the people in the class. And of course, I yielded to their collective wisdom. I think that towards the end of Akufo-Addo's period, he became dysfunctional. In other words, so many, when, dysfunctionality of the leadership is not what you have done, but what you are allowed to go on. And I think that he will also, so I would say I cannot rank the West, but the Couture Champions period, that of Liman, and the latter days of Akufo-Addo were among the bad periods of Ghana. You will find that I've excluded Rawlings deliberately because he intervened. And in terms of hardships, between the time he took over in 1982 for about till 1983, in terms of really feeling bad economic downturn, it was probably the West. But this was an attempt of young soldiers trying to react to the situation. But from 1983, when literally they gave up and went to the IMF World Bank, things started improving till 1982. He converted himself into a civilian rule. So it's a very complex situation that what you have asked requires a full thesis. So probably I should get one of my PhD thesis students to do research on the comparative performance with clear indicators, which I don't want to spend too much time on because we are talking about their vision, the ability to put in a good coalition, that is a good cabinet and senior members, their program, their execution, and other things. And it will be interesting for me to get one of the students to do a PhD in this.
I'm happy I'm contributing to higher education. Prof, you have to quote me.
No, you must be. Why don't you opt to be the PhD student?
I think we can talk about it after the interview, but thank you very much for this submission. Now, Prof, let's step back and meet the young Stephen Adei. What was life like growing up in Shremwase and the circumstances surrounding your education?
First of all, I think that relatively life was good. When I talk about my past, you will say, what? But that was the life. We didn't know anybody with a car, with a big house, and other things. We were peasant farmers. We had one cloth a year, one school uniform a year. We walked barefooted, but we had plenty of food to eat. We play under the moon time. So it was, by your material standards, a lot of deprivation. But nobody was in my village richer than us. My father and mother were good farmers, and we slept on a mat on the floor. Everybody did. So it was, I wouldn't consider, I'm saying this because especially a lot of young people, when you say you were barefooted, you had only one cloth a year and all those in one school uniform, it says, and I never had a shoe. When I was 4 years old, I remember they bought a shoe for me. Once I grew out of it, it was 10th grade before I bought a sandals. But the question is that everybody walk barefooted. So therefore, so if I were to take my shoes, you see a lot of my toes are off. I mean, why? Because you hit your leg against the stone, and then it bleeds and sometimes become septic and the rest.
Wow.
But the time I realized there's something wrong with me and my family in terms of poverty is in the middle school. From Form 2, Form 3, Form 4, that's 8, 9, 10. That's when you went to secondary school. I got admission to good secondary schools, Opokuwari, Prempe, Agri Memorial, and Fansipim. And I couldn't even pay the deposit so that I can even vie for scholarship. Then something occurred to me that actually we are very poor. And that meant that I've never been to secondary school before, so that we missed out. But at the 10th grade, standard 7 we call it, we had teacher training colleges, which was for 4 years. And if you sat and you go there for 4 years, you get set A, and you go back to the village to teach in the basic school. And I passed, went to Sehiwi Training College, and that was a breakthrough. Several things happened at Sehiwi Training College. I went before I was 16 years, so I was a very young.
Oh, a training college?
Training college before I was 16. Not your post-secondary training college. This was post-basic school training college.
Oh, okay.
That's what it was.
Okay.
And I was just before 16. 3 things happened to me. First, I saw some of my seniors doing correspondence course to do O-level and A-level. And I registered. And within 2 years after 10th grade, I had my GCE O-level school certificate. The following year, I got my A-level. So intellectually, it was almost like, boom, a breakthrough. And I ended up finishing my master's and came and taught in the final year some of my colleagues who went to Fansipim and the Prempe colleges at Legon. So that was a very an opening. The second thing that happened to me at Sehiwi is that's where I found faith in Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. Maybe I'd forgotten the actual dates. I mean, I wasn't keeping diary, but just towards the end when I went, I joined the Scripture Union, but it took some time before I understood the gospel to give my life to Jesus Christ. And that was a game changer. All my life, I've lived a very simple life. What would Jesus have me do? Finish. And that has given me, whether I was a diplomat, I'm a professor, or whatever it is. And to me, that happened at Sehiwi Training College, and to me, it was one of the greatest things. But also, going to training college that early meant you were forced to mature. Because after 2 years, you were going to teaching practice, middle school. And some of them, were about 3 years older than me. So you have to behave like an adult.
Yeah.
Even the training college, some of my mates were in their 40s. In fact, apart from 3 of us, everybody will be in the mid-20s and above. So it accelerated my maturity by learning and having to be responsible. So I have fond memory with Sehiwi and recently I went and visited the chief, and it was a lot of pleasure. He was trying to test me whether my Sehiwi is good. I said, "No, don't go there." When I was in the training college, we weren't using Sehiwi. And as students, all the bad words, the only ones you learn. So you can't go and say it to the Omahini. But we had a wonderful respecter Omahini, and I do the second also. So I think that from there, everything, I went to the University of Ghana. After that, I got a master's, Commonwealth Secretariat scholarship to do my master's. Came and worked for 5 years, got another scholarship, Commonwealth, to go and do my doctorate. And since then, the sky has been the limit. And so I thank God for that.
Thank you very much. Prof, I'm interested in knowing what your turning point in life was, given the fact that your father was a farmer and he did not believe so much in education.
He wanted me to be a farmer with him. But I understood him. He had so many children. Even my mother had 7 boys, so he needed one. And I don't know why he zeroed on me until my mother says that if you take my child, there will be a divorce. So I was just thrown to school.
She said that?
Oh, yeah, yes. In fact, he took me from her own hometown. It's 3 miles from Shiromwasi. He took me actually to go and stay with her people because she wouldn't allow her child to be the only one to be singled out. So because of that, my father was not happy and he really didn't care too much about. I think that the first, as I said, was going to the training college because that opened my horizon to the O level and other things. But the most important one is my finding faith in Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. It's changed my life. It simplified my life. I mean, people hear you were UN ambassador, you are a professor emeritus, but I live a very, very simple life. And my ethic is very simple. What would Jesus have me do? It makes me sometimes a bother to people, and I get a lot of flag for it, especially the politicians. But no. And the faith also helped me. My wife, my late wife, also even worse. Money is not in our lives. We use money as a tool, but to tempt me with money, you are joking. I still live on, apart from the car and the petrol, which is provided by my employers. If I tell you, I live on less than 3,000 cedis. Not that I don't have the money, but that is to be used for God's work. Not because I'm trying to be stingy. That's what I like. I like my contemporary, my PCA, my abunabunu. Actually, I just passed here and went up. I went and had my abunabunu fufu before coming for this. So the faith in Jesus Christ has made the difference. But the last and most important, the second important to Jesus Christ is my getting married to the best woman God made. My wife, apart from being the most beautiful, I don't know any Ghanaian who is more beautiful than my wife, but she's beautiful in character. He loves the Lord. He loved the family. He provided a wonderful support for my ministry and my profession for 50 years. He just passed away 2 months. And I think that next to Jesus Christ, the biggest turning point is at the age of 26 and a half. I got married to Georgina. She's a woman not without parallel. And not because she's dead, because 7 years ago or 6.5 years ago, I wrote her biography and she wrote her autobiography. So we decided to put them as 2 halves. When we finish, I'll give you a copy. And the title was Akos, the best woman God made. Wow. And I still think that I'll be 77 in December. I've never met a human being like my wife. And my family, my extended family tribute is that we had an angel in our midst and we did not know.
Wow.
So, and I think that these 3, the going to training college and academic horizon starting, finding Jesus Christ, and being married to the best woman God made. These are the 3. Everything else is bonus.
Okay, Prof, thank you very much. Prof, I'm interested in knowing how you met the best woman God made. What's the love story?
It's as simple as it is profound. For I met her within, I think, a month or 2 when I went to Legon. But he had come to visit my roommate because my roommate, now Reverend Joseph Atenti Amwa, was a friend of her fiancé, whom they wanted to marry as Christians. That thank God.
So you snatched her from someone?
No. Yes, you see, when we are making fufu, you chop the soup before. No. So Thank God, as Christians, when we are fiancés, we don't do what most of you girls and boys do when we call our fiancés.
Prof,
So,
what do we do?
you want me to tell you on television?
I would like to know.
I mean,
I
in other
can't
words,
go without knowing.
we have no, during our time, when Christians are fiancés, no sex, they are just friends with a promise to marry. So about 5 years. So the result, and then we served in Scripture Union, Gaffis, Christian Fellowship circles. So as a result of that, I knew her as anybody's blood sister, which was to help us in our marriage. Because when we decided to marry, there will be no hypocrisy. You know everything about everybody, about anything. I mean, we were so close that, excuse me to say that, even when you have a menstrual period, a painful one, she would tell me, Stephen, I'm not feeling well today. So we're that brother, sister. When I was doing my master's in Britain, sad to say that they broke, my friend and her broke their relationship, which made me so angry with my friend, I nearly killed him. I mean, it's, when you are a friend, that happens. So when I came back, it was after about 2 years when I returned that we decided to marry. So more or less, we were almost like marrying your sister, real sister in the house. It wasn't one of these fanciful type of, but God convinced me. And here, because of these false prophets around about political prophets, one must be very careful.
Yeah.
You won't believe that I was in the office with my superior at Now Ghana Investment Promotion Council, Mr. T.K. Obin of blessed memory. He was the head of the economics department. And we were talking economics. He was giving me instructions about something else. I heard the voice the same way as I and you are talking. Stephen, you are going to marry Georgina. She is to confirm it, she is sitting in your office now.
Wow.
I was so scared that I asked my boss, can I use your phone? He said yes. He says, to call my office because I had a roommate. We were junior officers, so we didn't have offices of our own. Mr. Mponsa said, as soon as I called, because he had been coming to me, to our place, we are laughing. As soon as it rang, Mr. Mponsa took it and said that Akosua is sitting in your office. That is, the rest is history.
Wow. Amazing. Amazing.
So therefore, I held my wife like, an angel from heaven. Because, and she also lived up to it.
Thank you very much for that submission. And this,
I hope you'll be a girl like my wife. Because if
most
you
definitely
try.
Most definitely, I will. And Prof, we would take a quick break, and when we are back, Prof is someone who has a lot to say when it comes to marriage, what marriage should look like, and how to have a godly marriage, amongst others. So after this break, we will delve deep into that. You're welcome back from the break, and this is still Impact Stories. Today we are having a revealing conversation with Professor Emeritus Stephen Adei, and I know many of you have heard of him. And in this session, Prof, I would like us to delve more into some of your thoughts on marriage. I know that you have written a book titled God's Master Plan for Christian Marriage, and in it you've outlined some principles for building strong unions. Now, in today's world of shifting values, which of these principles do you think couples struggle with?
Well, my first book on marriage was titled Communication. Communication. The Secret of a Happy Marriage. Like in most other relationships, I think people have challenge in communicating. And of course, there are many variables that cause that unless they are intentional about it. First, the difference between men and women. Someone has written at 1 Gray or so that, men are born on Mars and women on Venus, just to exaggerate the differences between men and women. And the tendency is to think that the other one is there's something wrong with them. No, he's just being a woman and he's just being a man. So trying to understand them. Second, I think that the communication, many people are not intentional about their marriage. They fall in love and then they think that things will work. They pursue their careers. And I think that it is this idea of not prioritizing their relationship as of vital importance to them. For me, there is a special dimension of Christian marriage, which my wife and I enjoyed for 50 years, is the fact that we submit, as the Bible says in Ephesians 5:21, submitting to one another out of reverence for Christ. In other words, we had somebody we are looking to who guides us, whom individually we obey. So our relationship with one another becomes secondary. And then I find that when you are intentional, you put in place certain anchors that guide that relationship. And I can only be personal with my example. For example, my wife and I, for 50 years, any day we are together, we read the Bible and pray together. In the morning and in the evening.
Every day.
Every day. And when even we are apart, we continue there where we are reading, and when we meet, we just continue. In addition to every individual. Again, we agreed, and we had to get used to, because if you come from where I come from, Mwasi, all these things will be foreign to you, but we were intentional about it. For example, we kept all our monies were together. We refused our extended family to treat us differently. Our policy is that your family is my family is your family. So we wouldn't allow any third party, no matter how painful, whether it's a mother or a father, to treat us differently. There were some courtesies, for example. I remember I said, honey, I will want to show you love and courtesy and respect. I will open car for you every day. We did 50 years. But initially, I said, please, I beg you, I come from Shiromwasi. I think this will be good, but I'm not used to it. So when I go and start, as men will do, go and start the car, just stand by your door. Don't open the door and sit down. And lo and behold, a few examples, I will hear, and then she'll be standing there, and I'll remember, within a month, I was used to, and forever we're able to. So there was this intentionality, and I think that most couples are intentional, have the capacity to build a good marriage. But their marriage is after their profession, after even their classmates, old boys, old girls association is more important to them than. But the bottom line, and later on, I knew it, we practiced it, but later on I found it, that was the foundation of the Song of Songs in the Bible. A threefold relationship. Spiritual oneness, that means you share a common faith, you worship together, you do things together. Second, friendship. Having time to be with one another, caring for one another, being sensitive, the things that makes friends. And the third is taking particular care of your sex life so that you are happy as sexual partners. And the Bible says in Proverbs 5, says, delight in the wife of your youth. I think that when you delight in your husband and the wife of your youth, you have a ball. So this threefold relationship, in fact, writing a tribute for my wife, I say that by your brother, your friend, and romantic sexual partner, which everybody in the church...
Prof, you did say that.
Yes. And at Accra Richard, that's a month ago, everybody started laughing. I said, what is... She was my sister in Christ. She was my friend, my best friend, and she was my romantic sexual partner. So that was my tribute, and I thank God for her. So these are some of the principles that guided us.
All right.
And also we had certain projects, like we took our parenting as a project. And then our ministry, family life ministry, as a project. So we were involved in things beyond our profession as a couple.
All right, thank you very much. Prof, we will delve into your professional life, but there's something that I just want clarity on. So there's this notion out there that men are naturally made or created to cheat or to have multiple women. I would like to know your take on that.
Traditionally, it is true, but I don't think they were created to. It's the tradition, that chauvinistic tradition. You know, the man is the mater, he can mate with 3 people, and annoyingly, when they see their wife also mate with somebody, they want to kill the wife. No, I don't think it's part of, as a Christian, it's part of the fall. That's when sin. And therefore, traditionally, men were physically the stronger and other things. It's a form of domination, try to show where power lies. I don't believe so. And I believe that if you cultivate good romantic sexual relationship with your partner, you will not be looking everywhere else. And those men, I must say, are not happy. And eventually they end up miserable. And I can name them one by one, those who are older. So I wouldn't agree with that as natural. There are many things that the result of sinful nature and fall, but not natural. I wouldn't agree.
All right. Thank you very much, Prof. Now, in terms of your professional life or your professional career, we know that you served as the Director General and Rector of the Ghana Institute of Management and Public Administration, but what do we not know?
First of all, I didn't know that I was a primary school basic school teacher, so you didn't know. And at this moment, I love it because my wife and I set up Christian High, and in my village, we now have kindergarten. And when I go, they say, Grandpa, and I don't know why I didn't remain there. But I think that people don't know that I work with Ghana Investment Promotion Center, now CIB, for 12 and a half years, rising to Deputy Director and Head of Research until 1986. When I joined the Commonwealth.
Wow.
And by God's grace, we did. In fact, the basic investment code of Ghana has been a revision of an investment code I was the principal agent in drafting. That's the investment code of 1985. So that is one area of my life that people do not know.
Wow.
As I said, many people don't know of my role in marketing and the Chartered Institute of Marketing. Many people don't know that I'm a chartered company secretary.
Wow.
But you know, the fact that you are an economist, bachelor, master's, PhD, and you have been working overshadows everything else. Many people don't know that I'm a qualified marriage counselor and have written with my wife about 15 books there. So I was surprised when it seems you dug, because that's one area which many people do not know. And my wife and I probably were responsible for real family life counseling in Ghana from the 80s.
80s?
Yes. Soon after we married. Again, many people don't know that I'm a theologian. I have a Bachelor of Divinity from London University and a Master's of Theology, Old Testament Studies from the University of South Africa. And for me, being a disciple of Jesus Christ and minister of the gospel is my first job. But of course, nobody pays me for that because I'm not an ordained minister. My wise wife advised that if you get ordained, you will be captured by one denomination, while our ministry for family life and counseling should be for everyone. And so these are many things that I'm a social entrepreneur. That means I do a lot of business, not so much for money. Now, some of them are giving me money, but like Christian High. For example, Ghana Christian International High School is probably the biggest private boarding elite school in the whole of Ghana. Many people do not know. However, I know that I said this because many people know what they consider to be your professional, what you are paid for. And there, I taught in the primary middle school for a short time and went to the university. I spent the 2.5 years as evaluation and economist at the Investment Promotion Center. 1986, I joined the Commonwealth Secretariat as a senior economist. In 3 years, I got a position with the UNDP in New York for 6.5 years. And then later on, I was made an ambassador first to South Africa. I was 1994, 95. I was the head of the UN system during the Mandela transition. And then 4.5 years in Namibia, again as the resident coordinator and UN ambassador to Namibia. When I was 50, I said that I think that I must go back to Ghana before I get too old. I had a permanent job till 60 years with the UN. But both my wife and I were almost in total agreement that if we didn't come to Ghana then, we may come to Ghana richer, but our contribution to the socio-economic and political life of our country will be limited. So we decided in 1999 to come to Ghana and left my job. I didn't tell any family member apart from my nuclear family, no friends apart from two, Kwesiafu and Alan Cash. These are
the Alan Cash we all
Yes,
know?
Alan Cash, because he was working with the UN in Ghana. So that's how, not as a politician. She wasn't a politician then. She was then Alan Chiramartin before he became Alan Cash. So, and the reason was that at that level, if I told any Ghanaian that I was coming to Ghana, leaving a permanent job with the UN, they would say, we must take you to mental hospital.
Yeah.
Even my own aunt, and I call her my mom, Mrs. Chenre Hesse, she was then the deputy managing director of ILO. He came to visit me, and as UN ambassador in Namibia, I received them, all the UN heads when they come. It's like, you are ambassador and you are ministers and other things have come.
Yeah.
He said, Stephen, what is this madness? And I said, Mom, I've prayed about it and I want to come home. So he went to the kitchen and asked my wife, do you know what my son is saying, Stephen? And then he says, what? He says, he's coming to Ghana. You must advise him not to. At that time, that was the Oje Krom days. After 5 minutes, Mom comes from the kitchen and he says, we in Krasel was Seychelles. Your wife is worse than you. So it's 1999. I was 51, exactly 3 weeks after, 1 week after my 51st birthday, we came to Ghana. And then in between, I'd gotten this job in GIMPA.
Prof, before you proceed, would you say it was worth it? You've been in Ghana for about 26 years now.
More than worth it. Socially, I think that coming at that time for my children, everything to integrate properly into the Ghanaian society. I think that economically, I didn't earn more. In fact, my salary was $345 starting at GIMPA, whilst I left $10,000 a month.
Wow.
But we have never been in need and everything, so it's worth it. I think that by God's grace, my contribution both at GIMPA, Ghana Christian, and in many other fields is far more. Given a chance, I will still decide to come.
Fantastic.
So I think that for me, it was a promotion on God's side, not a demotion. The only thing is that, of course, I mean, if I had continued and retired on a salary of about $20,000 a month, I would be living, like King Midas. But all I need, God has provided. And what else do I? I had a wonderful wife, wonderful family. I mean, I don't drive bungalow. Bungalow is a French word for a rackety car, new Prado, and the rest. What else do you need? So to me, it's one of the things even I've never thought about it, because I think that it was just like being promoted.
Okay, thank you. Prof, you were just about to tell us the GIMPA story.
Yeah. In a nutshell, of course, I came to take over a small, under-resourced institution. By the time I was leaving, it was, so far as I know, the first self-financing public university in the whole of Africa. And I think that it was something that I thank God for having had opportunity to play that role in leading it, of course, with the help of my staff, and especially my first board, which was headed by B.K. Mensah, a veteran civil servant, Dr. Sylvia Boy, almost who is who in Ghana was on my board. So I thank God for the way they guided me and supported me and allowed me to get away with some sort of innovative murders. Because some of the decisions I make, they said, Stephen, what's wrong with you,
But give me an example of some of those decisions,
For
the
example,
innovative murders.
For example, the first thing I did, I came, and if it were these days of financial regulation and other things, I could end up being in jail. There was darkness, Dumso was there. And I said, how can I run a university with light today, not light tomorrow? I asked the accountant, do you have money? He says that we have about 40, says less than $50,000. I says, tomorrow you are going to buy me automatic generator. 46,000.
That's everything the university has.
Because I said that you cannot run a university under a Dumso. Because ICT and it's part and parcel of a modern university. So the next council meeting says, who authorized you? That's one of the things. And then they realized that I had come from the moon. So they warned me to be careful next time. So what again, he said, because they knew also that, and I gave my explanation. I said, you cannot run a modern university in darkness. Finish. But once again, I had a good intention. The other one, of course, with the approval and that of the government, but eventually the government grew cold feet. We restructured and we dismissed 104 staff.
Dismissed?
Dismissed.
Why?
I mean, no, not dismissed, sorry, the word is wrong. Separated, because we went through the trade union and they were redundant. There were about 30 lecturers and over 300 supporting staff. Like usual government place, everybody put their friend and child, nephew, and other things. And that was under the umbrella of the National Institutional Renewal Program. So I had an unofficial cover. But when everything had gone through and the government knew it, supported us, when they were separated and they were paid off, for every year of service, they were given 5 weeks of salary. The Deputy Minister for Employment, Labor and Employment, then Austin Gami calls me and says, the government says, bring them back. I says,
never.
No. I said, yes, sir. And then I left. And I says, me, Stephen Adei. How can I bring people who have been formally separated? The government say, bring them back. And can you manage them again? No. So I didn't. Fortunately, they were so much involved in elections. I'm sure they were waiting. Let's wait and how we deal with you. And then DC lost power. So I again got away with murder.
Got away with murder.
I mean, to them it was sacrilegious.
Well, thank God you were never arrested.
Yes, this one was good murder, good killing. Some people were. But on a more serious note, I think that we had to take very hard decisions. But before I left GIMPA, we had the same number of staff, but the composition was different. We had about 100 professionals and administrators. So it had reduced from 1 to about 11 to 1 to 3. And our turnover was probably 1,000% what it used to be. So it was the dynamics. But I wonder whether anybody will be allowed today to do what I did, because the politicians, because of their own misdeeds, are so nervous that they cannot.
All right, thank you. Prof, so you've served as the chairman for the National Development Planning Commission here in Ghana and also worked with the GRA.
As chairman?
Yes.
And also as a member of the Judicial Council.
And you did so especially for your position with the NDPC. You did that under the leadership of the Akufo-Addo-led government. And within this period, many citizens called it one of the toughest economic periods in our history. Now, looking back to those moments or those times, what were some of the difficult parts of, carrying that responsibility and some of the lessons that you have learned?
Fortunately, it was in his first regime, not doing the bad second part. But on a more serious note, I think, and I don't know, things have not changed much. I hope it will change. Our politicians are not interested in long-term development of Ghana. They have such a short horizon, 4 years, getting power, maybe 8 years. Some of them steal as much as you want and then go. During the 25 months or so when I was chairman of NDPC, we couldn't have an audience with the cabinet or the president. So I resigned.
Wow. 25 months, no audience with the president.
No. Yes. We prepared Ghana at 100. In other words, a vision of where we must be by the time Ghana reaches 100 years post-independence. We got him even to draft a forward, and we couldn't present it.
Wow.
So when the government changed, actually I went to the Minister for Finance. I said, can you look for a new chairman? And I actually pointed who could be the new chairman. Why? Because you must look for someone who would like to have a post, not to... I shouldn't go say... So I said that, why don't you appoint this one as a chairman? He says, but that's your position. I said, I'm not interested. Please, it will help you anyway solve a problem. And that is it. And I left.
Wow.
That's me. Because I'm not interested in posts. I'm not interested, by God's grace. I don't need more money than God has given me. So, and in case they were paying me only 2,500 Ghana cedis per sitting. And we sat for about 4 times or less a year. And that's all.
That's all.
And as the chairman, I was almost doing full-time job.
Wow.
So, but I love to do it, provided it was going to contribute to national development. Because I believe that if God blesses you like some of us have been blessed, you should not be paid to serve Ghana because you owe it all to Ghana.
All right, thank you. Prof, so somewhere last year, you mentioned in, I think, a number of interviews that you were working on an explosive book titled 15 Months in the Lion's Den.
First of all, I never saw that, but you are calling it explosive. Yes.
Well, Prof, all over the internet, explosive comes with a quote. And unfortunately, I never got the chance to
it's
see
not
the
true.
video.
I never use that word. It is the journalist word. But yes, I was working on a book 12 months in the Lion's Den.
Okay,
yes,
and what happened to the book? Has it been released?
No, I haven't completed it because some more exciting things, but it's one of the 5 things which are on my list still. But talking about it, basically, it's a simple matter that, I don't think that our governments are interested in collecting revenue, but what they would need for their party and their assumptions for this and that and that and that, because that's why at this moment, we are still having less than 13% of our GDP in government revenue, which should be about 20%. And we can do it. When I was there, we had a target of 17.5% in 3 years. And the first year, we were able to exceed our target by 3 billion cedis, which was that time was big money. I saw my being kicked out on television.
Wow.
In other words, a new board was formed. In other words, they didn't even have the courtesy to say that, you have served, we are forming a new board, and His Excellency have seen it, that he would like to have somebody else relieve you. And this is a government which sent people to my house here to beg me to be the chairman of GRA because they had appointed somebody, and for once all Ghanaians spoke against it, so he couldn't be sworn in. The guy who was supposed to have allegedly put 11 air conditioning in a 2.5 room, and all Ghanaians stood against it.
Who's that?
And so they didn't. So that's how I became the chairman. I'm sure they wanted a person of integrity who would counteract it. But
what do you mean by a person of integrity?
By God's grace, and I can say, and anybody can research, despite all people say about you lie, I have never taken one peso or cent in all my public life. And GRA, I did not come to my house with even a bicycle tie. Even though I know you could, for 5,000 or 10,000 cedis, you can get a 4-wheel drive because the government so-called has confiscated it. One of the evil things being happening in this country, a young person goes and buys a car, and you come and say that after 3 weeks, you are charging him certain interest, he cannot pay, and you auction it for about 10,000, and these political thieves and their crooks, and it's not only MPP, NDC MPP, they would not like to change that system. That is what I'm talking about. And by God's grace, let anybody prove that I took even a bicycle tie there. But for me, when they came, it was an opportunity to serve. And the only thing, in fact, after they had kicked me out, after 1 year, I was here, and they brought me 17,000 cedis. Apparently, they had underpaid even the sitting allowance of 1,400 initially, and later on they increased it. I thought that what we were allowed was gross. So I insisted that they should take 20% from it, only to be told after 1 year that actually what was approved by the minister was net. And therefore, they brought me my 17,000 at Christmas. It wasn't bad. So it was a good opportunity to serve, but a sad experience, because unless our politicians are prepared, and that's what might have offended people, I say that in revenue collection, there's no protocol. Unless we put our feet down, if we do, we can get the revenue, not by increasing the rate, but by effective collection of property taxes, the leakages at the airport, those who are getting exemptions. These mining companies, they are ripping off, they all have exemptions. They don't pay anything on their capital imports. And that if we stop those things, we will get the revenue. And of course, the other side is not for revenue collection. That is the leakages in expenditure. That's another story. Don't go there today.
I won't.
Yes.
I won't. So, Prof, when are we expecting, or when do we expect to see the book? When is it going to be released?
The trouble is that, the vim to complete is so low, but I will work on it. And it will appear that it is about the system. It's not about any government. But when you publish it, the government of the day will be doing it. They think that you are attacking them. But it all requires about 1 month of serious work, because it's the principles involved. I'm not going to talk about, because if you're a chairman, you don't go on this company is this company that. That's not your job. But there are certain principles which are conflictual, and our politicians are ripping Ghana off twice. they are blocking our collecting the revenues. And when they are corrected, the corruption and the contracts, they waste it. So Ghanaians suffer from two ends. The money being collected, those who pay don't pay, the poor people are ripped off. And then when it comes to the expenditure, they and their cronies, all the contracts and other things. I believe that there's an average of 40% inflation.
Okay, thank you very much. Prof, just to wrap up, currently a lot of Ghanaians feel trapped.
Trapped?
Yes, trapped, because
Why?
especially the youth.
Okay.
They have degrees, there's no
Jobs.
They have ideas, there are no resources. So having you here today, I'd like to find out from you what you think is the most practical, or what kind of advice would you give our youth who find themselves in that kind of situation?
First of all, sometimes when you make a statement, then the journalist, put a spin on it. I think that at the end of the day, unless we improve the economy, whereby interest rates are low, 10% or below, inflation is controlled, and the real economy, we're talking about manufacturing, someone starting business, agriculture, picks up, we will not solve our unemployment problem. And I think we are seeing good signs at the moment. It happened on the Kufuor, and then we went bankers. So managing the economy well. For example, I mentioned Ghana Christian International High School. We employ 352 staff. So if you have one person, me and my wife, bringing that idea, that small business, at the end of the day, that's where the employment is going to come from. The government, whether Kufuor or Mahama, does not employ Ghanaians. You hear me? The whole government workers, who unfortunately have become, many of them in the public service are more corrupt or equally corrupt like the politicians, are only less than 1 million. And most of them even happen to be teachers and nurses, medical people. So those who are ripping us off are very small, about 50 to maybe 250,000. And then there are corresponding politicians of even lesser number. So the government has never been an employee. And sometimes say, we are going to employ 1 million people. Yes, but there are 34 million. Even if government doubles its employees, it will be 2 million. And I'm assuming that they are 1 million. I know they are less than 1 million. So catalyzing the whole economy, 10 people employed here, 20 people, that is what is the way forward. That's number one. I believe that there's the chance because, you see, the Owaka Nusro, the one who has been bitten by a snake, when he sees a worm, he panics. We've been let down so much, but I wish Mahama and Co well so that they will fix the economy, so that the real economy that employs, and not government employees, because whenever the government say we are employing youth employment, this and this and this, it's just an avenue for corruption. That's number one. Number two, I think our young people should set their eyes low, because in the past, the government was employing them, banks, they think that that's where they should be going. And therefore, they must be prepared to do something. I mean, my youngest child, when he finished good degree from tech, he was sitting at home. I said, what are you going to do? I was then in a position to get you a job. He says, no, I don't want to be employed. He sat before a computer engineer, learned photography, and at one time he considered himself, his company, among the 3 best photography firms in Ghana, and was earning like any professor. You see, the young people must change their minds and be willing to start small and grow. You talk about finance. Let me tell you, if you want to start small, you will get it. For example, I announced it in Kumasi. I haven't had anybody respond because I was talking to a group of people that I am prepared to support young people who want to start something on their own, provided they want to start with about 5,000 CDs. And I'm prepared to support them, up to 500 of them. And 5,000 is something, if you are not going to go in the car, you are in Trotsky and other things, you can start something with it. Someone will use it to buy a good second-hand computer and start something online. So the mindset, the money, yes, the government and everybody else can chip in. But if you want to start small, often you can get support. Finally, let me say that our governments should know that at the end of the day, they are facilitators of young people getting employment. All the monies they are spending on their parties and everything else, they're stealing through government contracts. This is what the young people need in terms of microfinance and encouraging those who are successful to start business to employ others. But I cannot, I said last, but let me add last. Our education system is to blame. The type of, I'm Professor Emeritus for Ashesi University. My Ashesi students are not on the street unemployed because from day one, we teach them leadership. We teach them entrepreneurship, creativity. We give them confidence. And the first job of about 10% is starting their businesses. 10% of them start their businesses. And of course, they employ others. So our education system of chew, pass, and forget and is one to blame because the mindset of the young one is that I've finished a degree, I'm waiting for a job. Why do you sit down to say you are waiting for a job when the bricklayer gets 200 Ghana cedis a day? And I've seen graduates going to teach in Saito private schools getting 500 CDs a month. There's something wrong with your education, and we are thinking. And that is where, fundamentally, in the long run, we must tackle.
Thank you very much. Prof, we are way out of our time, but then you did mention that you are ready to support about 500 young people
to start their businesses.
To start a business.
Small.
Exactly. How do they reach you briefly?
They can reach me through you.
Okay. That's fine.
But actually, to be honest with you, I'm already supporting a few of them. But I wish I am going to be 77 at the end of this year. When I'm going to die and you bury me with money. No. To help young people. We are doing more at Ghana Christian. We are doing family life. But I think at the end of the day, getting young people to be creative, entrepreneurial, it's not only for them, but that's where the future of this country lies. But if I give you mine, then the public now will be swamped because they think that, and it's not money for free. You must have an idea, and I believe that you will succeed because I want to help you to succeed. Like, by God's grace, my children, and hopefully my grandchildren.
Thank you very much for talking to us. As Professor Emeritus mentioned, if you're a young person out there looking at starting a business, starting small, contact us on AAU TV and we would put you in contact with the man. And know that this is not free. Your duty is to ensure you use the money for exactly what you said you would use it for. Thank you very much for talking to us. And this is Impact Story, a legacy written in gold.